Truffle Shuffle Gaming, how you doing, brother? How's your day been, man? It's a little bit late, actually, for the start of a stream, but hey, here we are. I had some topics that I wanted to discuss, and it won't really work in a video, so I thought we'd do a live stream instead. My birthday was good. Thanks for asking. It was very fun. Had some cake, some carrot cake, some chocolate cake. It was good. It was awesome. Tekla, how you doing, sir? I hope you're doing well. We're just waiting for people to filter in, and then we'll have a bit of a chat. Because, yeah, there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot going on in the world these days, and specifically with the woke, anti-woke crowd, you know. Wyvern, how you doing? Just wanted to say hi. I cannot stay. Have fun. Wyvern, take care of yourself. Thanks so much for at least popping in. I really appreciate you. I love intellectual conversation. Truffle Shuffle, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think today is going to be very similar to that. It's going to be a very similar conversation. A bit of a schism in the movement. I don't think so. You'll understand in a minute why. No, I don't think it's a schism. Grofal, how you doing, sir? But we'll get into that. We'll talk about everything, and I'll take questions and stuff as well. Dark Mephisto, how you doing, sir? Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. How have you been, man? Maybe join later. How long will you be here? Wyvern, I don't know. Like maybe an hour and a half, something like that. Not sure. E8 at least. Lewis, how you doing, sir? Have to catch replay work? Oh, man. Sorry to hear that. But hey, thanks at least for popping in and coming to say hello. I really appreciate that. Answering a question from the stream title? Nope, they shouldn't. We'll talk. Wait. Before we just sort of jump in, there's a lot more to consider than just knee-jerk reactions of, oh, no, I don't think so. See you later then. All right, Wyvern, take care of yourself. Have fun. Hang out. No, I wanted to specifically do it in a stream because there's a lot more to talk about than just sort of knee-jerk reactions of, oh, but never mind. You know, there's a lot more going on here. I don't really care. I don't really care, if I'm very honest with you, what Nintendo does or does not do. Goodness. From my perspective, if Nintendo died tomorrow, I would feel none of it. I don't play Nintendo games. I've never owned a Nintendo anything. I have no interest in being anywhere near Nintendo. So, if Nintendo disappeared tomorrow, I would not even experience it. I would not even know. My gaming experience would be unaffected. So, I saw that Nintendo Switch 2 came out, and I was like, oh, okay. Bugger Games, how you doing, sir? Thundercool, how you doing, sir? But we'll wait for people to sort of arrive, and then we'll get into the topics. I'm more interested to see. So my only interest in the handheld space would be SteamOS, and seeing how SteamOS impacts the console space. And there's a recent interview with the lead developer of SteamOS, where he effectively said they're coming for PC. Like, they're currently working on the NVIDIA open source driver system, and that'll be implemented, which will then mean that NVIDIA drivers will work on SteamOS day one. So as soon as NVIDIA release new drivers, it'll be updated and SteamOS will be able to incorporate it. So it's going to be super interesting. Nintendo has player base bigger than Xbox and PS put together, so yep, you definitely see some changes in the industry. No, I would not in my personal industry. Because remember, Nintendo's whole spiel has always been super closed system. It is kind of like Apple. If Apple went out of business tomorrow, most of the world would not even know. Like, unless you read tech news every single day, you would not know. And the reason you wouldn't know is Apple has an entirely closed ecosystem. No one else can participate in that ecosystem. Unless you have an Apple device, you're screwed. Because it's not like when Android. So if Android go bankrupt, everyone will experience that, or at least most people will experience that, because everyone has a mobile phone that's an Android, maybe a tablet that's an Android, and all of them will experience that. But as far as like Apple, they're too closed off. Nintendo did the same thing. They closed their ecosystem, so no one else will be affected except for developers that actually develop for Nintendo. Yeah, they'll be affected, but I don't play those games, so... Leaked Asmongold's DMs? Wait, what? Really? Wait, Elon shouldn't be leaking DMs. What the hell is he doing? Wow, Elon really did that. Although nothing Elon leaked here is, I mean, stuff we don't know, right? Everyone knows this. Did Elon actually remove his blue check? Because you need to remember, is that confirmed? Because that's what I would need to know. Because you need to remember, when you change your profile picture on X, your blue check disappears alongside it. Like, that's... I have had that myself. And it can disappear for up to a week, because they have to re-verify that you are indeed the person that you claim you are. So, just make sure about the whole blue check mark thing. And that Elon isn't just trolling or some shit. Z Vengeance, how you doing? Pyarch, how you doing? Snubbles, how you doing? Unless, of course, that I don't know if Elon... I don't know if Elon actually leaked that, or did he talk to Asmongold before leaking it? Shay, how you doing? We're going to be talking about that in a second. I'm just sort of trying to catch up on what's happening here. I just removed... Okay, so Asmongold did change his profile picture. That wasn't always his profile picture. I would be surprised if this isn't just a joke. Has Asmongold said anything? Lydia, how are you doing? This drama is literally nothing. How are people surprised? Someone who has busy life 24/7 does not have time to actually play video games. Oh, Lydia, no, we're not talking about the Elon Musk, like, Path of Exile 2 shit. Like, I could not care less about that. I didn't even make videos about that. Like, the dude paid some Chinese dude to play his account, or he played it himself. I don't care. I didn't cover that. I won't cover that. That's nonsense. No, we're looking at something else here. We're trying to figure out if Elon had indeed removed, or... See, this is the problem. Because I can leak people's DMs if they tell me I'm allowed to. Then it's not really leaking it. You're just sharing it. It's not true. It's unavoidable. Christianity is wholly baked into the West collective idea of morality. We're going to get into this. The whole Pirate Software WoW story is an even bigger nonsense. Yeah, I didn't cover that either. Like, if people are surprised at this point that the entirety of that guild is just one big scam, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. The entire point of OnlyFans is to be nonsense. It's to be content. All of the people in that guild just do content. And you are correct, Keldris. I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell happened here. It's silly of him to pretend he did play. No one cares, and that's why lying about this had zero upside. Also, until Asmon responds, don't jump to conclusions. It's possible he himself hit the mark or just stopped subscription. No, The Vengeance, so I have already explained this, but you went here. So I'll explain it again for you. For everyone. If you change your profile picture having a blue check mark on X, you lose the blue check mark. X then goes through a new round of verification to ensure that you are indeed the person that you claim you are, and then you get it back. When I did this, what happened to me was, I think, 3 days. 3 days before I got my blue check back. I don't have it now anymore, but yeah. So please don't jump to conclusions here. Don't start going, he removed these blue check. Oh. He might not have. Nintendo Switch 2 in April. Good morning. I hope you're well. Way, how you doing, sir? I was here 15 minutes ago. I didn't post anything late. I'm just trying to see. Man, what I want to know is how does Elon Musk tweet so much? Like, does he have someone that just sits there and he just says things and they just tweet things? Because the dude tweets like a monster. It's just every day. Scrolling through his tweets for things that happened literally yesterday, it is like scrolling the whole of X. It's annoying. Cocaine is all of a drug and feels like it. Like, I don't even have the strength to tweet once a day. Like, most days I don't even tweet because I couldn't care less about tweeting. And there's people that basically, what I don't understand is where do people get the time? Because I wake up, I make videos. I wake up, I go to the gym, I get home, I immediately start making videos. As soon as I'm done with my videos, I go live. When I'm done live, I'm so tired. I literally just, I read Bible, like I do my Bible study for an hour, then I hit the bed and I sleep. And then I wake up and I do the exact same thing over and over and over again. So I don't have time to be tweeting all day, every single day. And then I see people with full lives, like they apparently they're working, but they're also tweeting the whole time. I'm like, dude, where the do you get the time to be tweeting this much? I don't even have time to tweet once. I think he's legitimately bipolar. He seems to have absolutely manic days, and then he'll have stretches where he's not there at all, a day or two, and he comes back salty AF. It is possible. His game saves are fake, but his tweets are real. He got the profile of a Twitter addict. As far as it is possible. That's what I do when I'm tired. Lol, it's my mindless scrolling time. Most people tweet from the toilet. Oh, so that's maybe it. I don't have Twitter on my phone. This year is the only Twitter that I have. I removed X from my phone like probably 2 months ago, and it has been the greatest thing in the world. Going to bed, reading a book. I don't have X on my phone, so I can't even be tempted to look. And I'm not going to be logging in, or I'm not going to be downloading the app just to quickly scroll. It has been amazing. So I have to literally log onto my PC in order to see what's happening on X. By the way, his both of XLChar died. Fun fact. Yeah, I heard that.
I'm not built to suck your dick.
Little gift on Steam is on the way. 3.
Sun Goddess, thank you so much for the $5. Really appreciate you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And also for the gift on Steam. Okay, we are going to be getting into the topic in a minute. Because there is actually quite a lot of stuff that we have to be talking about. At my workplace, we got someone on the clock that's on Twitter every second when not busy with service. See, but I don't have anyone working for me. I am the dude that works for me. So if anything needs to happen, I'm the man that has to make that happen. I don't have people working for me. But I wouldn't mind if I had someone that just tweeted on my behalf and I just said shit. Right? Dude, look at the quality of my videos. You think I have an editor? Like, dude, if I had an editor and that was the quality of the videos, they'd be fired already. The reason the videos have almost no editing in them is because I have no time. I have to get the videos done as quickly as possible so I can go live as soon as possible. I don't have time for editing, but I mean, if I had an editor and that was the quality, I'd fire those people. Aziria, how are you doing, sir? Wish you all the best. God bless. Martin, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. God bless you too, man. Late stream, also evening. Yes, how you doing, Aziria? We're going to be talking about some stuff. That's why we're late. DI hire. Maybe I should get myself a DI editor. You know, they would do pretty much the same job I do, no? Can't find them, make you racist. Thundercool, I could probably hire someone. The problem is when you have editors, you go from being a YouTuber to being a business owner. Even just one editor, because remember, you can't just let them work. You have to physically look at what they're doing, critique their work. Every single time you start with a new editor, you have to watch every video they edit because you have to make sure that they're editing the way that you want them to edit. You need to be able to give them feedback on, oh, I want you to look for things like this that you can cut and you have to do this. So you become now a business owner. It doesn't actually in the beginning save you any time. And even afterwards, you don't really save time. Because when you're not working, or when you're not working with them, you're working on logistics. No thanks. I'll just do it myself. Chat filter that makes you black, female, or trans somehow. So Rodney, how are you doing? Once you get an editor that writes your script that makes the video, you just become a CEO at this point. Yeah, and you lose valuable free time. Identifying as an editor, I'm good at editing pictures in Photoshop. I mean, hey, you'd be better than me. You'd be better than me. I don't know where that gift has been sent. Sun Goddess, I appreciate the $5, but I can't see any gifts. At least not at the moment. Never mind. I think it just came through. Death and Taxes. Short narrative-based game. You assume the role of the Grim Reaper on an office job. Your job is to decide which people are going to live or die. Wow. That sounds like a fun game. If it just happens, Steam takes like 5 to 15 to process. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Sun Goddess. Thank you. Sounds like Doctor with extra steps. I don't know. I don't know what that game is. If everyone is here, we can probably start. I'm literally just waiting for people to arrive so we can start. I don't even know I have all of these games in my wish list. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if you guys saw this game. This is a new game that's come out. It's sort of like, do you guys remember the game They Are Billions? It's a sort of similar game to They Are Billions. Except it has like roguelike elements to it. So you keep getting attacked by bigger and bigger waves of enemies. But you have these Death Knights. And the Death Knights are the real bad ones. The other Knights are just sort of normal. If you survive a Death Knight, then you get like blessings and boons and stuff. If you lose a Death Knight, or if you just do really badly, you get like curses and stuff. So it's sort of like a everywhere, anything kind of thing. So yeah, it's sort of like an interesting thing. You guys can check this out. Age of Darkness, if you haven't already. Funny game called Stallcraft. It's been a blast. Same with Abiotic Factor. I'll check it out. Goose. All right, so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you're just very uninformed and no one has informed you yet. If you are interested in being informed what anti-woke means, I'd be happy to do that for you. If you are not, right? So if you're just willing to, or if you're just interested in spewing nonsense and believe what you think it is and just sort of run with that, that's perfectly fine, but you can go do that somewhere else. I don't like to entertain idiots unless I absolutely have to. So it's your choice. You want to get educated? Happy to help you with that. You don't? You just want to continue believing what you think anti-woke means? Then by all means, but then you can go do that somewhere else. Abiotic Factor is a horror game and a pixel survival game with food and water. He'll hate it. Yeah, I don't play horror games. Ever. But alright, so shall we start? I decided to do this as a live stream. Originally, I wanted to make 2 videos. These were going to be videos, but the problem with both of these topics, and it is 2 topics, notice that there is a comma between the 2. The problem with these 2 topics is they're very large, and as a result of this, there's a lot of nuance that would require me answering questions, responding to feedback in real time. So I decided to make it a live stream instead. I will probably make the live stream public so that people can come back and watch it if they feel like they want to know. But the first topic that we are going to be talking about is most gamers are anti-woke. On the face of it, if you are someone that aren't particularly political, you might listen to that or might read that and go, well, that's just nonsense. I am obviously not anti-woke because I'm not a right wing. You see, one of the biggest misconceptions of anti-woke is that it is right-wing gamers. Right-wingers and conservatives are fighting progressives and liberals in the video game space, which is probably the worst possible misconception you can have about the anti-woke crowd. You see, the anti-woke movement is an incredibly large taint. Incredibly large. And it spans such a wide variety of gamers. There are black anti-woke gamers, white anti-woke gamers, male, female, gay, trans, lesbian. You name it, there are people who are anti-woke. See, but this is where you need to understand, what does woke actually mean? What is the definition of woke? And this is where the big taint comes in. See, because not everyone can agree on what woke actually is. Now, you might say, well, that's just because you guys are all a bunch of grifters. No, that's because everyone has a different definition based on their own sensitivities to politicization of video games, and that is the fundamental definition. Right there. That is the definition. You'll hear a term like DEI being thrown around consistently. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Let's deal with the E first because it's the easiest. Equity is completely made up. Doesn't exist. Cannot exist, not with humans. What does equity mean? Equity means equal outcomes regardless of input. So I'll make it simple for you. Imagine you're working in a factory. Your job is to pickle fish and put it in a can. That's what you do. You arrive every single morning at 8 o'clock, you work until 12, you take your lunch, you're back at 12:45 and you start working again right up until 5. You pickle 5,000 cans of fish a day. This is what you do. You are never late. You never stay longer than you absolutely have to. But when you're at work, you work 5,000 cans a day. You are paid $1,000 a month for your job. Chris, working right next to you, arrives whenever the hell he wants, sometimes not at all. He takes lunch whenever the hell he feels like, and it's never just 45 minutes, and he leaves sometimes before lunch. Chris only makes 100 cans of pickled fish a day. Chris also gets paid $1,000. That is equity. Anyone with 2 brain cells goes, this is very unfair. I don't like it. Equity doesn't exist. No one actually believes in it. It's literally just there to shoehorn communism into the conversation because every stupid person that believes in socialist policies don't actually know what communism is. They're too stupid for that. They genuinely think Stalin wasn't a communist. So fundamentally, equity doesn't exist. Diversity and inclusion is the conversations, are the 2 concepts that this conversation really revolves around. Right? Diversity, inclusion. They're basically the same thing. Diversity is how many people are represented from how many backgrounds and how many races and sexes and genders and all the rest of it. Inclusion is so that everyone can feel included. You can have one without the other. It doesn't really matter because both will ultimately, theoretically achieve the exact same thing. Now, is diversity and even inclusion on their own a problem? The success of every game almost in the history of gaming will tell you that no. Of course, there are differences in how we define inclusion and diversity. Because from the woke left side, they will look at a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and they will say that that was not a diverse game at all. But that would be a lie. Kingdom Come Deliverance is incredibly diverse. It has people from all over Europe. And if you were to ask any European, if you ask the Frenchman, do you think you're the same as a German? The Frenchman would say, what are you talking about? Except he'd say it in a far more stupid language that no one can understand. If you were to ask a Spanish person, do you think you and the Italians are the same? They'd say no, right? So fundamentally, it is an incredibly diverse game. Because you have people from all over Europe impacting this one single area in Europe at a very specific time and place. Now, that diversity doesn't include people who are black, people who are brown, people who are Arab. It just doesn't happen to include them because they were not present during that specific time period in Europe. But the game is still incredibly diverse. Now, if we were to go look at old games like Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Icewind Dale, even Mass Effect 1 and 2, Dragon Age Origins, even Dragon Age 2, you will find a breadth of diversity across all of that, including things like racial diversity. I like using the example of Mass Effect 1, where Captain Anderson is a black man and no one gave a shit because being black wasn't the defining characteristic of Captain Anderson. Captain Anderson was your direct superior officer, damn good voice actor, damn good script. It was just a good game. It was a good, fun game to play. So fundamentally, most gamers don't really give a crap about diversity. Most gamers don't even mind diversity. What all gamers mind, or at least the vast majority, as I allude to in the title, most gamers are anti-woke. What gamers mind is the politicization of diversity. It is when you take a game and you insert characters into that game purely for political reasons. It doesn't make any sense any other way. Take again Kingdom Come Deliverance as the example here. Kingdom Come Deliverance isn't a fantasy game, it is a medieval game. It is historically incredibly accurate. The battles, the things that happened there, the names of the people used, it's all historically accurate. If you suddenly in Kingdom Come Deliverance happened upon a castle where the king is black and all the people in the castle is black, you would immediately ask yourself, how is this possible? in the Czech area of the Middle Ages, there is a Black Kingdom? When? This never happened. The game purports to be historically accurate, and yet we have this inaccurate kingdom in the middle of this game. That would be an example of a political insertion. I needed black characters in my game, and so I inserted black characters into my game, whether they make sense to be there or not. It would be similar to a game like Assassin's Creed 1 taking place in the Arab world, right? And suddenly you see people running around with blonde hair and blue eyes, right? Or you see Adolf Hitler as one of the enemies. You'd be like, what the hell are you guys talking about? He wasn't even alive back then. What are we doing, right? Because that would be an example of politics playing a role in the choices that you make. I argue that most gamers don't want political elements inserted into their video games. The issue is that most gamers think of the anti-woke crowd as conservative, right-wing. And that is because a lot of conservatives and right-wingers are part of that taint. That is true, but it is a very, very large taint. And you do have the conservatives and the right-wingers. I am a conservative myself. We are in that taint. But we are not alone in that taint. We don't have ownership of that taint. We're just one of the groups in that taint that is trying to fight the politicization of our video games. And to try and say, listen, we don't care that you have diverse characters in your video games. We just don't want your politics to be included in there as well. Keep your politics out of it. Give us the game. This has been the mantra of gamers for the last 5 years. And now suddenly people are surprised by this. Now suddenly you have a bunch of left-wingers that pretend like that wasn't always the complaint. Now I realize in saying this that many of you can point to tweets from people who clearly don't just care about the politicization of diversity, that don't just care about politics in video games, but care about a whole breadth and width of other things. And a lot of their demands are highly, almost irregular, and also completely out of whack. That's always going to happen. All we can do is police our taint as good as we can, but there will always be elements that want wacky stuff. There will always be people that want things that 90% of the anti-woke crowd doesn't even agree with. But I'm not going to stop fighting with this person, because for now, we are aligned on one thing, and that is no more politics in our video games. Now, of course, you always have to say this because sadly, there are people who just don't understand nuance or context or have very little comprehension. When we say no politics in our video games, we are of course not saying that video games cannot have politics. We're saying that while I'm slaying the big bad dragon, the dragon should not look like Donald Trump. We're saying that while I'm killing all of the enemies, they should not have massive signs saying I am a Republican on their jackets. That's what we're talking about. We don't want your politics in our video games. We don't want to be preached to in our video games. Dragon Age the Veilguard is one of the best examples of that, where you have a character that is so insufferable that even left-wingers cannot stand Tash. Because Tash, the entire existence of Tash, is the opportunity of the developers to educate the gamers on what non-binary means, and also to educate the gamers on how this is the way that you deal with non-binary people, insofar as you can absolutely not disagree with them at all. There is a reason why Dragon Age the Veilguard didn't sell. There is a reason why Dragon Age the Veilguard is a dead game. Concord is another great example of this. Dustborn is another great example of this. No gamers want politics in their video games. We play games to escape said politics. If you are going to go that route, if you are going to try and present politics in a video game, you have to be smart about it, and it can never come across as preachy. No one wants to be preached to. People just want to play video games. So when I say that most gamers are anti-woke, I mean it. Because I meet anti-woke gamers every single day. And not a single one of the anti-woke gamers that I meet is the same as another. I meet Christian anti-woke gamers, conservative anti-woke gamers, liberal anti-woke gamers, gay anti-woke gamers, trans anti-woke gamers. I meet anti-woke from everywhere. The one thing that we all have in common is we want our games back. We don't want our games to fall into the hands of activists that will basically turn everything into a nightmare. And before you think to yourself, Akko, but I just want good writing. Yes, then you are anti-woke. Congratulations. Welcome to the tape. Because when you spend 5 seconds thinking about it, you realize that to be woke, to insert politics into a game, requires you to downgrade your writing significantly. And the reason you have to downgrade your writing significantly is because more often than not, you are demanding dialogue that is unnatural to ordinary life. Normal people don't speak this way. For example, normal people don't go up to people introducing themselves with their pronouns. No one walks up to another human being and goes, "Hi, my name is Stefan, he, him." No one does that. That is an unnatural way of communicating with one another. No one meets another person in the middle of the street and go, "Hey, what are your pronouns?" That just doesn't happen. So when you try to write a story around this, you are by definition demanded to downgrade the writing style in order to fit your political bend. Because remember, if I'm writing, so I'll use my own example here because that's something that most of the anti-Christian crowd will be able to understand. If I wanted to make a game with a Christian message and a Christian game, I am almost guaranteed going to not sell a lot of copies. There is a reason why Lord of the Rings is one of the greatest selling fantasy novels in the history ever, because it used Christian values, but it created its own world around that. But if I wanted to make a Christian game, suddenly I can't really allow a lot of freedom. Right? Because every topic that I'm dealing with, I don't want the player to reach the wrong conclusion here. I want the player to reach the right conclusion. And so I have to present things in a way that is almost unnatural. In normal, ordinary life, we all have choices. We can all interact with the world in our own way. But if my goal is to convert people, then I suddenly have to remove that freedom. I can't present you with a problem and allow you, the player, to solve the problem in your own way. I have to present you with the problem and then also present you with the solution that leads to the outcome that I want to sell you. So I have no problem with someone saying, I want to make a game that is politically charged. And yes, I am more progressive. Therefore, I am going to introduce a lot of conundrums that are a lot, shall we say, progressive leaning. But then you have to do it in such a way that at no point do you decide on behalf of the player what the right way is to interpret these things. A master of this, of course, is a man by the name of Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima's games are all hyper-political. Except he has this incredible talent to present the game without ever really forcing you to see the thing from his perspective. The problems are there, and the politics is definitely in there, but at every point, you can have 5 different players playing Metal Gear Solid, and they will leave there with 5 different perspectives on what the game was actually about. For example, I've played, one of my favorite games from Hideo Kojima is Death Stranding. I love Death Stranding. I've literally seen theories on what Death Stranding is actually about, ranging from climate change to societal collapse to birth rate collapse to pandemics to everything. Everyone is taking their own opinion from what they think that game is actually about. Why? Because Hideo Kojima creates the world like an artist would, right? And then he steps back and he allows the observer of the world to impart their own opinions and personalities onto the world. That's art. That's what you do when you have art. When you're playing a game like Dragon Age The Veilguard, you don't have art. Because there, the artists create the world, insert themselves into the world, do not allow the player to insert themselves into the world, because the player might walk away with the wrong opinion here. Instead, no. We'll just tell the player what to think. We'll make sure that the player think the way that we think about this, right? That's not art. If you've ever played a game like that, and you've walked away from that game feeling like, man, I really didn't have fun here, congratulations, you're anti-woke. Congrats. Doesn't mean that you can't be progressive. Doesn't mean that you can't be liberal. It doesn't mean that you can't be gay. It doesn't mean that you can't be trans. It doesn't mean that you can't be black or white or whatever. If you have a problem with being told what to think, if you have a problem with art masquerading as political activism, you are anti-woke. Congratulations. And I would argue that that is most, if not all, gamers. Now, where in the tent you sit, that is up to you. Like I said, it's a large tent. We even fight amongst ourselves in this tent. You have people that claim this is woke, and then I go, I don't necessarily agree with that. For example, there's people who actively claim that Baldur's Gate 3 is a woke game and they don't like it. I don't agree with that, right? I'm still anti-woke. I just don't agree to that effect. Because different people in the anti-woke crowd will have different responses in terms of sensitivity to woke stuff. It doesn't make them woke or not woke. It just makes them more sensitive to woke than other people. But it is ultimately still the same tent. We're still fighting the same battle, and winning looks very similar. It's as simple as that. So, what do you guys think? What's the questions or pushback or something that you think? We're not dealing with the second topic yet. We'll get to the Christian value stuff. That's going to be second. Now we're just dealing with the first topic. Most gamers are anti-woke. You mean political activism masquerading as art? Shay, no, because... Well, you could probably put it either way, right? You can probably put it either way. Like, honestly, it can be political activism masquerading as art, or art masquerading as political activism. Because Dustborn, for example, is political activism masquerading as art, but it can also be art because they did go their own sort of direction with it, and they tried to make it its own art form, masquerading as political activism. And there, I could probably make the argument it was just laughable, even to lefties. People just thought it was laughable. But I think whatever way works. Probably the one that you said is probably most accurate in most circumstances. That's a good word, sensitivity to it. I've written reviews where I've spoken to someone's tolerance for this or that nonsense. Nicodemus, yeah, pretty much. I just want to play a game, man. What happened to that? Gilgamesh, we all just want to play a game, but we are, of course, talking about what is the levels to which we're willing to let things slide. I don't think Baldur's Gate 3 is woke because it doesn't preach their BS. Yes, it's possible to do some wacky shiz, but they don't preach things down your throat. But Shadow Rodney, this is again where I say different anti-woke people will have different tolerances. So you do have the crowd that is incredibly sensitive to that. So if they see even an element of anti-woke or even an element of DEI, an element of progressivism, they immediately go, woke, won't play. Which is fine. You don't have to play, right? As long as you don't force all games to follow your thing. But that's exactly it. I should probably also just mention this. as someone that is part of the anti-woke crowd and a voice within the anti-woke movement, I want to make this very clear. I have no interest in forcing my views onto the video game industry. I have no interest in telling video game designers what they should do. I don't want to go up to Ubisoft or EA or BioWare or anyone and say, listen here, this is how you make games and this is the only way you make games. If you step out of line, you're done. That's not what I want to do. However, I do reserve the right to tell them what I don't want them to do. And in this instance, I don't want their politics in my video games. I can request things, and we'll get to that in the next topic, but fundamentally, this is not a movement for me where I want to try and force my views into it. Because so often the pendulum swings from one side to the other, and it always swings way too far to the one or way too far to the other side. And it sort of doesn't ever settle in the center. So I'm trying my absolute best to make sure that this pendulum ends in the center, where we don't howl over to the super conservative, Puritan movement as well. But you'll see in a second why I don't agree with that. And that, as a Christian, I don't necessarily agree with that. But we'll get to that. That's the second topic. Baldur's Gate could be classified as a normal game filled with people who'd be classified as woke IRL. This kind of proves that normal people would play any game as long as it's good and woke PS is not forced down our throats. Speakeasy, yeah, I agree with that. We need some bad games, so we know what good games are. That's probably also true, Nicodemus. The difference is enforcement of ideology. You're allowed to not like things. There's times I think these woke games are made the way on purpose for a tax write-off. Dude, well, Ubisoft is definitely getting a tax write-off. I mean, soon they won't even have to pay taxes. So if that was their plan, they're doing one a hell of a job of it. I don't like tokenism, but having a tune that you feel connected to is a good thing. So do we have any questions thus far? Gamergate is literally what I just defined. It's gamers fighting back against politics in our video games. Can we stop the tribalism from both sides and tackle the actual issues where both being disingenuous and doesn't benefit either side? Well, Malone, what do you view as the actual issues? Because that's usually where I find there's a lot of dishonesty in that debate, right? Because I will so often get obviously progressive voices going, man, you guys just constantly going on about woke. That's not the actual issue. The actual issue is bad writing. The woke stuff is what causes the bad writing. Like, what are we talking about here? Right? So it really depends on what is it that you view as the actual issues, and how do you describe or subscribe disingenuous behavior. Pretty much the stuff you cover. You also dislike when people say, "Oh, this person's black. This is so DI just because they're black." Oh, Malone. So but you're talking about like the people in the taint that's like super sensitive to this stuff. Yeah, I will never agree with him. Right? Never. I will never agree with that. I'm not that far into the taint, right? I would say I'm very much center of the taint, right? I am a conservative. I am proud to admit that. I am very much a conservative. But I am sort of like an old school live and let live conservative, except when it affects me, and I should say, if you go anywhere near kids. Right? So as soon as you try to include kids in it, now it does affect me just by definition. But I'm definitely not that far into the taint. So I can disagree with them and still believe that we are fighting the same fight. And I feel like those particular issues will be dealt with as soon as we win. right? So as soon as the war is over, we in the taint can start fighting, right? Then we can just let the bells of war ring across the taint, and we'll start bashing the shit out of each other in order to figure out who actually, gets to define the future of video gaming for the next 10 or 20 years. But for now, the taint needs to pull together. We need to find a way to move in the same direction. And that does mean that sometimes I have to ally myself with people who are far more right-wing than I am. And I'm happy to do that because for now we are fighting the same fight. But I also sometimes have to align with people that are far more progressive than what I am. And that is still fine because we are fighting the same fight. Once the fight is won, I'd be happy to start a new fight where I say, okay, now let's deal with you two. Let's get you out of the gaming industry, right? We'll backstab when the time's right. Let's not start backstabbing now. Can a game have no gay character because it's woke? Mytera, I said that today in my video. I fear when we get to that point, because I also think that it does raise an interesting point, right? We have to define what victory looks like. I think that's very important. And victory cannot be that there is no black characters in games, that there are no gay characters in games, right? That can't really be victory because we will never achieve that. Ever. That will never work. And the reason for it is...
style of reporting. Thanks for the content. Cheers.
But thank you so much for the $10. I really appreciate you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll never achieve victory there. And the reason we'll never win that is there are developers who are gay. There are developers who are black. There are developers who are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different things, right? So if we say, no black characters, no gay characters, no this, no that, no that, you'll ultimately end up with a bunch of developers that don't want to make those games now being forced to make games that they don't want to make, which again will just lead to bad video games. Instead, I think we need to be a lot more realistic with what victory actually looks like here. From the oldest games that I can think of in the modern gaming era, you have had black characters as part of games. You have had gay characters as part of games. That has been around for a long time. But it used to be just a side thought. It used to be a thing of, oh, this character happens to be gay. Okay, cool. Just move on with your life. It wasn't preachy. It wasn't trying to insert itself into everything. It was just there. And I think that is far more achievable than just, look, I'm pragmatic. I'm not a dogmatic person. I'm a pragmatic person. And the only place where I'm not pragmatic is with my faith. Right? I'm not pragmatic there. I'm not going to start advocating for, homosexuality not being a sin because I want to be pragmatic and help the church grow. No, homosexuality is a sin, but so too is having sex before marriage. So too is lust. So too is looking at porn. So too is greed. So too is envy. All sins. I'm not going to start arguing for those not being sins just because I want the church to grow from a pragmatic standpoint. No. But when it's not about my faith, when it is literally just about gaming, there I can say, right, what is a solution that makes everyone happy? And it's wild that we're talking about that in 2025 when I feel like this was figured out in the early 2000s already. I feel like if you go and you look at the old school games, they were already figured out. Like, we were already doing all of those things. Like, gay people were playing games and they were happy. Lesbians were playing games and they were happy. White guys were playing games and they were happy. Black guys were playing games and they were happy. Gamers were happy. And now, suddenly in 2025... we have to figure out again how to make games for everyone because apparently we didn't do that 20 years ago when we did, right? So it's sort of wild that we're talking about that now, but here we are because obviously politics became part of the conversation. Those above me, this is why BG3 works and Veilguard doesn't. Well, untrue. The signaler doesn't want to be accepted. They want to beat you into submission. Make games escapism again. That's for me victory. When the gay character is there to be a gay character in the game, it doesn't belong in the game. When the character happens to be gay, if you happen to notice, and you want to engage more, it's fine. Yeah, there's no such thing as a game for everyone. Jay, that is also true, right? But that's a bit more of a development discussion that definitely needs to be had at some point. I think a lot of these studios try way too hard to make the game for everyone, and that just ends up being a game for no one, right? Miyazaki said this better than I could ever say it, so I just keep using his words for it. The problem is not the existence of a gay character. The problem is the reason for their existence. How obvious they were shoehorned in to tick a checkbox, and how little they add to the experience. Chris, I absolutely agree with you. In this, I always like to use the example of Claire in Cyberpunk 2077. So there's one giveaway that Claire is trans, and that is there's a tiny trans flag on Claire's pickup truck that you race in, although you only drive in it once and you get the truck at the end of the game. The rest of it is literally just Claire giving you new races to do, and then little bits of story that drops along the way. You only find out from Claire that Claire is trans at the end of that storyline, and when Claire says that he's trans, it's like, oh, shit, that makes a lot of sense. Like, the story now makes a lot of sense. The whole reason Claire is on this massive revenge tour is the man that you're trying to beat, that he is trying to kill, is the man that killed his husband, and his husband happened to be the one dude that accepted him for being trans when no one else would. So obviously that's like a big element of the story, right? So the gender of the character played an active role in explaining a lot of the story. Stuff like that I can appreciate for what it is, right? Because it works. And you also don't have to do it if you don't want to, right? It's a complete side story. Doesn't really matter. You can literally ignore it. And actually, my first two playthroughs, I didn't do it because I hate riding. I hate driving in video games. So I didn't even do it the first two times. It was only on my third playthrough that I 100%ed the game again. And I was like, man, I should probably do this quest as well, just so that I can say that I did complete it. And I thought it was a good quest. I thought it was handled respectfully and well. So that sort of stuff I think is fine if it adds to the story, but I am right there with you. And this is why I said it's the politicization of these issues. If you're going to do something to a story and the thing that you're doing adds nothing to the story, then why are you doing it? You're just wasting a lot of resources on something that really doesn't matter. And yes, TB, in the world of Cyberpunk, in the era that it is in, that makes so much sense, right? That story fits in that era. Why else games wokify games this much and is okay with pissing off gamers and their customers? The point to create hatred and diversion so that more people vote against their enemies out of spite, then it works. Don't for that time, BlackRock give money to companies to wokify games so much that it makes more people become conservative so the Conservative Party can win, so BlackRock gets more money. Well, no, I mean, yeah, that's probably true. Katsun, how you doing? There's a possibility of that, although I doubt it. The problem with gay characters is that it promotes the lie that the act of sex is possible between the same sexes. So far as we're gonna get to the Christian values from, the anti-woke movement, but also Christian values in video games. We're gonna get to that because I have some opinions on that as well. But I want to deal with this issue before we move on to the next. KB, how you doing, sir? Yeah, is it fair to say that most of you understand my point about most gamers being anti-woke, and we can move to the next topic? Is that fair? Because I feel like the next topic is probably the far more charged topic of the two. Clear story, browbeats the player with preachy messaging. It's done well, and it serves the story. Have you talked about the Fortune Runs controversy? Don, I have no idea what that is. Fortune's Run? What's that? Video game, guy goes to prison. Wait, what? Half of chat has been on the next part since they came into chat. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. But right, let's talk about the next part. Let's do the next topic. Should Christian values inform the anti-woke movement? And perhaps more pointedly, should Christian values determine the direction of video games? Now, before you have knee-jerk reactions and just go no or yes or whatever, you need to really think about this topic. You need to think about what are Christian values? What exactly is it to be Christian? Well, the argument there is fairly simple. 99.9% of all of the things that you believe makes a good person are Christian values. It comes from Christianity. It comes from the church. You were brought up in it, so you don't even realize it. Tom Holland, the agnostic historian, has a beautiful way of putting it. We are all just goldfish swimming in Christian waters. You're in your bowl, so you don't even realize it. But if you weren't in your bowl, you would very quickly realize what these waters actually look like. And Tom Holland is a complete agnostic. He does not believe in anything, and yet even he recognizes it, right? So Christian values is what determined and influenced books like this. This entire book is Christian values. The Lord of the Rings is based on Christian values, Christian morals, Christian moral teachings. So what are we talking about here? Well, quite frankly, for the most part, when we think of Christian values, we think of things like homosexuality, sex, nudity, right? Violence, things of that nature. These are the things that most people kick against. These are the things that most people care about. These are the things that most people either want to see in their video games or want to see removed from their video games. I, for example, am well aware of the fact that someone like Melanie Mack really doesn't want the debauchery and the shall we say, moral immorality in video games. I know that there are other content creators out there that believe that this is a that we can have games that support Christianity and support Christian messaging and Christian values. And perhaps you can to some extent, right? But here's where I think, and Dark Mephisto, you are just 100% not right, not correct on this. But do yourself a favor, go read Tom Holland's book, Dominion, to get a full sense of what other religions and societies that follow other faiths have produced. If you are to claim that all other religions just do the exact same things as Christianity, then sure, go live during the golden age of the Roman Empire, where babies were literally thrown out the door to die if they were deemed to be deformed or deficient in any way, shape, or form, where killing 1 million Gauls and enslaving another 1 million Gauls weren't met with questionable takes from people. It was met with celebrations. People thought Julius Caesar was one of the greatest people ever as a result of it. If you truly think that all other religions espouse the exact same values as Christianity, then ask yourself why slavery is alive and well today in the Middle East, and yet for thousands of years before the abolishment of slavery, there were a ton of conversations in Christian worlds about slavery, about the issue of slavery, whether or not it was in fact just and moral. No one is suggesting that all the Christian world always did the right thing all the time. The difference between the Christian world and every other world has always been that the Christian world never wholesale accepted evil. Never. No matter what time and period, no matter what happened, when the Catholic Church was going around slaughtering Protestants by the thousands, there were Catholics that were going, actually, whoa, I don't think we should be doing this. When the Protestants were killing the Catholics, there were Protestants going, whew, do we really think that this is the word of God? Do we really think that this is what God would want from us? When we were taking slaves, there were Christians on both sides going, boys, if all men are created equal in the image of God, then perhaps taking slaves isn't the right option. And ultimately, it is those debates that would shape society and make the West the only civilization in the history of the world to abolish slavery, and not just abolish it, but to actively work to squash it out of existence. So no, it is not true that all religions espouse the exact same values as Christianity does. Christianity does have the unique claim on that, and the evidence is all around you. It's very simple. Now, let's get into, should Christian values be in video games? The short answer is no. No, it should not. And I say that as a Christian. To my fellow Christians, I would want to say this. What is Christianity? What is the concept of Christianity? What makes a Christian? It is the belief that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came down to earth, became part of our suffering in our sin, to die without sin for our sins so that we may live. Then rose and ascended up to heaven, and through belief in Jesus Christ, we get the Holy Spirit, and we achieve salvation and sanctification as a result of this. The entire process, the entire period of this is personal. It cannot be forced, it cannot be enforced, it cannot be demanded. A person, if you hold a gun against a person's head and ask them, do you believe in Jesus? They're going to say yes. It doesn't mean that they do believe in Jesus. They just don't want to be shot. The church tried this for a long time. The Roman Catholics and the Protestants tried for a long time to enforce their faith. Just because someone says they're a Christian doesn't mean they are one, especially if there's a gun to their head. I don't believe that Christianity can be forced onto anyone, and I don't think it should be. I'm reminded that the people we should be looking towards are the disciples and, more importantly, Jesus. Jesus never went around forcing anyone to believe the words that he said. In fact, when he went to Galilee and the people of Galilee told him to leave, he left. He did not send his disciples into Galilee to beat and force the people of Galilee into submission. He left. When he said to his disciples, now go out and make disciples of all the world, he said to them, if a town rejects you, depart from there. There was no force involved. We don't force our way into it. We bring the gospel, people accept it or they don't. That's the deal. I think what Christians should be asking for in video games isn't that games are made for us. It isn't that we should apply the most puritanical view of Christianity on video game designers, because it should be mentioned that a lot of video game designers are not Christian. They don't share your faith. So to demand from them that they add no homosexuality because it is a sin, to demand from them that they add no sex and no nudity because those would be sins, to demand from them to depart of all sinful behavior in video games leaves us with very few video games to play. And more importantly, you end up with a bunch of developers doing something out of fear, not out of conviction. And that is the difference. That is the most important difference. As Christians, I think what we can ask is that we are at least catered to, insofar as a game should have a nudity filter that I can tick so that I don't have to see that. A game should maybe even have a homosexual feature so that if I don't want my children to play a game with homosexual themes, I should be able to take that off and my kids can play a game that doesn't have those themes, right? If there are sex scenes in the game, I should be able to take that off and I don't have to see those in the game. Those, I think, are reasonable requests. I think when we start to say that that should just not be in the game, the problem is that you're starting to now tell other people who do not share your views how they should live their lives, and that's not how it's supposed to be. We tried that. The world tried that. For a very long time, we tried to force our views onto other people, and all it did was make people angry. Because people don't change that way. You don't change because someone tells you to change. You change when you actually believe that there is something bigger, there is something more important out there. So I do think when I listen to people demanding purity in video games, when I listen to people demanding that these things be removed from video games, I think we're demanding the wrong thing. Asking for people to keep in mind that there might be Christians playing their game and therefore adding reasonable toggles where reasonable. Don't be unreasonable and start asking for crazy shit. But, you know, if it's reasonable, like nudity filters, like the ability to turn off sex scenes, I think that's fine. And I think that should be allowed. And I think that should be there. But I think it should be just as easy for players to not have that, and to be able to play the games that they want to play. I'm always reminded of the fact that as Christians, we're very quick to reject the world's interference in our church. We would not allow for the world to tell us how we are supposed to worship. It is our church, our faith. We will do what we want. The world does not have a say in that. The sword cuts both ways. If the world cannot have a say in how we worship, then we cannot have a say in how they live. We are called to be lights to the world. If they see it and they are drawn to it, then great. If they see it and they don't like it, then great. It doesn't matter. But fundamentally, I think we're losing. I think you lose a lot of people when you start demanding purity in video games, since most people are not that. But what do you guys think? Play video games which depict murder, or play video games at all, since itself is a sin of sloth? So today, yes, you can make that argument, right? But there is, so when it comes to sex is a particularly devious one, and one that Christians tend to be very sensitive to, for good reason. And the research on this is actually really well done. So don't ask me why, but when you see violence on television or violence in a video game, your brain is very well equipped to know that that's not real. That's not real violence. It doesn't matter. We can actually look. We look at brain scans and we can see the parts of the brain that sort of light up when violence occurs. It's not the violent centers of the brain that light up. So you don't get violent when you see violence. However, when you see sex, even in animated games or animated films, the exact centers that light up during normal real life sex light up. So our brains do not have the ability to differentiate between sex in a screen and sex in real life. It's the same hormones that release, it's the same response that release. And for Christians, this is a particular problem for us, right? This is something that we're called to be pure, we're called to be holy. You shouldn't have sex before marriage. You shouldn't live together before marriage. You should remain a part of that, right? You shouldn't be a part of that. And so when you see that, it activates the hormones. It becomes hell to get away from it. Like absolute hell. It takes days to get your mind to sort of move on from it. So for Christians, that is a particularly bad one. And that is one that we try to avoid as much as possible, because it usually leads to lots and lots of bad thoughts and bad behaviors. I'll use myself here as an example. If I'm not careful, if I'm not really careful with what I watch and where I look, So I have a couple of people that I chat to on Instagram, just sort of friends that I still have on Instagram. I have to go into Instagram, click on my DMs as quickly as possible, because I barely follow anyone on Instagram, right? So I have to click on my DMs as quickly as possible and just read the DMs. I can't scroll Instagram. Because seeing a single girl in a bikini on Instagram starts a process that leads to porn. Every single time, no matter how hard I try, it can sometimes take... I've managed to get it now to a place where it takes days. So I will struggle for a couple of days before it finally gets to porn. But it does. It just continuously go there. So it is very difficult because the process was never... I believe it was designed. The process wasn't designed to be stopped. Right? That process, that feeling, those hormones are designed to make you want to have sex so that you can have children. Right? So it wasn't a process that God designed to stop. Once it activates, it wants to finish because it wants, it's to make children. So it's very difficult once that process starts to actually pull yourself in. So you try not to look at it. That way you don't move to the ultimate sort of downfall kind of thing. If I make a Civilization type game where if the player allows contraceptives for his population, it results in the collapse of his population, is this forcing Christian values? No, Forrest. If there is counterplay, I think in a game specifically, if you were to introduce that, because it is technically true, right? That's just you being consistent. Contraceptives definitely did help lead to a collapse in civilization, but it's not the only thing that led to a collapse in civilization, right? So as long as you include all of the other things, I would suggest you're just being very, very, very punishingly accurate in your video game. But you could probably do that, right? So yeah, Doom is the most Christian game in existence. Changed my mind. I haven't played Doom, so I have no idea. If the market is woke, go woke. If it's not, don't. If your audience is secular, go secular. If your audience is largely religious, you probably shouldn't offend the religion. Market to the market. Forest is not that absurd. People can be chaste and not horny sex pests. Ghost, I'm yet to see that. Maybe there are people who don't really struggle with that. I am not one of those people. It is very difficult for me. I know you hate anime, but ironically, anime promote largely classical conservative values, such as traditional gender roles and marriage. Yeah, but it's anime. I don't like anime. I feel that would potentially upset things like game lore too much. I think developers should sell what sells on an objective level. It is beholden on developers to the market, though. Akalon, just a quick question. Are you not interested in Season of Discovery or Classic? Not really, Philippe. I'm not really into Classic. But it's something that I'm more than happy to get your opinions on this, because I know it's a divisive topic. I'm well aware that what we're discussing here is incredibly divisive. So if you have sort of feedback and ideas about this, please share them. Because you said people denying porn is addictive. Try giving it up. Oh yeah, porn is really bad. You'll know when you try to give it up. Just a quick question. Are you not... No, wait. That's the wrong one. I don't have the porn thing. I have the cigarette thing. I see a person smoke. I need to smoke. And now? You're lucky then. Porn can be quite powerful addiction, Echo. I do believe you can build a tolerance to it, but it's a difficult habit to get rid of. So the only people that I've ever seen replace a porn addiction without the help of the Holy Spirit and God is literally just to replace it with another addiction. Every single person I know of that's been able to replace or beat porn addictions just become addicted to something else. Now that can be something like the gym, which most people would argue is probably a healthy addiction. But even there, I've seen people destroy relationships as a result of their gym addiction, right? It can be an addiction to health, which can also be very destructive because you become obsessive, right? That's the problem with addiction. You become obsessed with it. And soon you become almost intolerable to live with because you're obsessed with this thing that you have to adhere to at all times. So it is super difficult. Because I can understand that. Dark Mephisto, if you truly think religion can be addictive, try it out. See how it goes for you. You, as a non-religious person, won't understand it, but as a religious person, you have two people in your head at all times. You have the part of yourself that loves God and wants to do good, wants to live by the glory and the rule of the Lord. You have another part that wants to desperately not do that. And it is a constant battle. It does not become addictive. There is an obedience level to it. You obey. And that becomes easier after a while, but it doesn't ever go away. You don't ever get to a point where your flesh just completely becomes quiet and just goes along with it. Your flesh does not get addicted to it. Not at all. Remember, what you need to understand is religion is the denial. Christianity is the denial of everything that the flesh wants. Everything. Think of every single indulgence that you have. Right? So every single little thing that you enjoy to do. All of that is sin. All of it is sin. And as a Christian, you are to remove yourself from that. That's the issue. That's why it never becomes an addiction. Because it doesn't numb you. You don't become numb to it and then you just sort of go along with it. Now, there's versions of it. We call it lawfulness, right? So there's lawfulness. That can become an addiction. You have to be very careful because there are people like that. They sort of make laws of things and then they just start doing the law stuff, right? So they just, I go to church on a Sunday and then I do this and then I do this, so this makes me a Christian. And they forget the message. Now, you can become addicted to that, but then you're no longer a Christian because that usually leads to very bad behavior. And you see it. You see it from people who fall into that. People who, you see their lives unravel as a result of that because they do become addicted to the process rather than seeking God. But again, this is not something you will understand until you actually embrace the faith and see what I'm talking about for yourself. The church, because of the evils I heard and the fact they called games diabolic, satanic, etc. These days I understand Christianity is from a good intent of making the world a better place and safeguard the soul. I'm not Christian. I feel like that ain't my path to walk, but I do appreciate them if they're good people. It all depends on like I told you guys this yesterday. You have a lot of people who are churchgoers. I don't believe you have a lot of people who are Christians. You have a lot of people who go to church. But I'd say a good way to taste is compassion. If someone claims to be Christian, do they have compassion? Because it is impossible to be Christian, to truly understand what happened on the cross, to truly understand the immensity of the grace of God and not have immense compassion. Now, do not mistake compassion for compliance. There is a difference, right? I can say homosexuality is a sin and still have incredible compassion with a gay man. because I understand his life. I understand how hellish his life is as a result of sin, right? There's a massive difference. People think of compassion as, oh, but you have to accept it. You should love. I do love him. That's why I have compassion for him. And also, it doesn't mean that I bash them over the head and, tie them to a bed and force them to convert, right? That doesn't work that way. You look for compassion, and there's a good chance that you may have made a Christian. As above any divinity, I don't believe in religion. I know I'm a Christian because I was born into a Christian family and in a Christian country, but that doesn't make you a Christian. Because if God exists and he let children be slaves, women being raped, people starve, he is not a God, is a devil. From cancer, I pray he didn't answer. Philippe, I would ask you to go think about what you think you're saying. Just go think about that. Because my mom died of cancer as well. I prayed to God as well, and he didn't answer my prayers. And yet I believe in him. So clearly you and I reached very different conclusions. So you might want to ask yourself, what is it that you don't understand? Would you consider Gnostics Christians? Not a Gnostic. They are, by definition, I think, was curious about you. No, I don't. The problem with Gnostics, a lot of people like to claim that the Gnostics were also Christian. The problem with the Gnostics were that they purposefully, they twist the message of Christ to the point where everyone can become that, right? So there's this sort of, there's the ability for everyone to become that and to become divine almost in and of themselves. But then even in saying Gnostics, the problem is when you're talking about Gnostics, we call them today Gnostics, but they're actually, there's like 20 plus groups of Gnostics, and they all believe different things. Like at the time, they were not the same group. We just today call them Gnostic, but they were not the same. So all of them were very different. My question is, Elijah, how are you doing? Other than a handful of people that sparked this whole thing, is there a push in the gaming industry to force Christian values? Is there a Christian SBI forcing this on game studios? Elijah, no, of course not. There's quite a few content creators that would want to see that, and it is a debate that is running within the community at the moment, and it's interesting enough that I thought I want to talk about it, because I do think I have tried on this channel from the very beginning to be reasonable insofar as I can. I'm not saying that I'm a reasonable person or even a rational person, but I try to be. And so whenever I see debates spark, I want to ensure that we remain reasonable in what we think is achievable and also what we should be achieving. So yeah, from my perspective, I just wanted to add my 2 cents to the argument. Philippe, for me to answer you would require way longer than what we have. But fundamentally, my mom's death and what that meant to me, learning from that and allowing that moment to take its course and shape me was a net positive. There are things that I never would have done did she not die. There are things that never would have happened did she not die. And once you realize that, you start to become aware of the sovereignty and the sovereignty arguments and how the sovereignty of God specifically work. I cannot answer it for you. That's why I said, go think about what you're saying. Go think. Go think long and hard about what it is you're saying and whether or not your life is actually worse today as a result of the things that happened to you, or if it's better. And to your other arguments about the suffering in the world, there are more people in this world who don't suffer. So, for example, people like using the argument of babies getting cancer and dying. There are far more babies every single day in this world that are born alive and well and healthy than there are that are born with deformities or issues or that even die during childbirth. Far more. Far more. We know this because the literal human population keeps going up. Right? If it was going down, that would be a different discussion. But we are adding more human beings every day to this planet. So clearly far more people don't suffer than people who do. So if your argument is that there isn't a God because of all of the evil, then the flip side of that must also then be true. There must be a God because of all the good. I'm not saying that that is what should convert you to Christianity or make you believe in God, but it should show you how stupid the argument is. Oh, look at all the evil, therefore there is no God. Spiritual, if that makes any sense. Over there, yeah, that does make sense. From what I've seen after 6 years modding for you, you are indeed more level-headed and willing to debate and discuss topics without like slinging crap, laying blame, or forcing only your narrative. Moni, I do that from time to time, and then I feel really bad because I allowed myself to get swept up into some argument or something. But I try as much as I can, being human. I try to be at least open to conversation and debate. People very easily claim the prayers aren't answered, but they fail to realize that sometimes the answer is no. Garen, I wouldn't even, like, my views are very different on this, and it's such a difficult conversation because so many people presuppose that God is evil. Also, by the way, the Damozal, I saw you pop in earlier, and I didn't say hello. How are you doing, by the way? So many people presuppose that God is evil. So any conversation that you have with them, anything you say is immediately viewed through the lens of the presuppositions that God is evil. Right? And so you can say anything and immediately the response is filtered through, well, God is evil, therefore what you're saying just proves how evil God is. And it makes that debate very difficult, right? Because how do you break through those presuppositions? I was going to say you are approaching this conversation in a much more compassionate way than what I am capable of. Bertog, I think a big part of that is my life. Where I was, who I used to be, has shaped who I'm probably most geared towards talking. You know, I know Christians, for example, that will never be able to talk to atheists, ever. Because they don't understand atheists, they have no time for that level of thinking, what they would view as short-sightedness. So they could never, ever spend time with atheists. And then you have, some people, everyone is called to their own place. I think my particular path that I walked prepared me to be able to understand atheists a lot better because I was one of them. It is to understand the mindset. It is to understand the arguments, because I had all of those arguments, right? I believed all of these things a little over a year ago still. I made all of the same arguments. So I'm able to put myself in their place and see how they think, how they approach things.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Bert Talk. Really appreciate you joining the DJ Nation. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. Anyone other than yourself, if you're a true Christian and you can't be in the company of someone that doesn't believe in God, then that's a you problem. Over there, I don't necessarily... So I'm not that strict in my application of dogmas, because everyone is called to their own ministry. Some people are called and their job is in the church, right? Their job is to work with people in the church, to give them strength, to help them out, to be a pillar for them. Others are called to go out into the world and to change hearts and minds and win people over to Christ. And just because, and oftentimes those people who are called to evangelize the world won't do well as people in the church, right? Because they tend to be a little bit more combative. They tend to embrace the debate, right? And so they would not do as well in the church. But they're called for something else. So I like to believe that God calls everyone to their strengths. Hello, everybody. I do understand the values. I am anti-woke in the sense of I am in it for the narrative, the story. If it is properly done in a non-demeaning manner and not overly done, it's okay. Christian, I very much support everything you just said. I'm very much in agreement with you there. Just lots of meetings today. Sorry to hear that, Damozel. Is the gaming industry breaking down? Yeah, it depends, DB. The essence of Gamergate is different for every gamer in Gamergate. But, fundamentally, I try to do my part in hopefully winning this war, because I do think we are at war. And I think people need to realize that we are at war. And I'm reminded of the fact, or at least I'm comforted by the fact, that I think a lot of gamers have finally realized that we are at war. I take comfort in that. Raphael, but that's why I made this video, to try and dispel those myths. To try and dispel the idea. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully understand that the vast majority of people on the sort of super far left, they will never sway, they will never change their minds, because they're not interested in being, in seeing the truth. They're interested only in winning, right? They're not interested in knowing what the truth is. They're not interested in being right. They just want to win. So I'm not talking to them. As far as I'm concerned, they are the enemy and they should be defeated. I'm talking to the people, and I do think there are plenty of people who don't necessarily think of themselves as anti-woke, but don't quite understand what it means to be anti-woke. Like, what is anti-woke? And to try and explain to them that you are probably also anti-woke, you just don't know it. Because if you only read the media, you will get a very weird sense of what woke actually means, right?
Hey.
The Grey Hour. Thank you very much for the follow. Really appreciate you, sir. Thank you. You're far too kind. Gamers are incredibly more knowledgeable about their consumer products and connected with each other than most other industries. Very true, actually, Forrest. but I don't want to lean into any culture war. There's still a lot of people who avoid the topic as if it's toxic. Yes, because a lot of people get all of their news from the media, right? They read PC Gamer and they go, oh, well, this is what PC Gamer has to say about it. And they don't necessarily, or they just hear someone in passing talk about it. The amount of people that don't know what anti-woke means and just jump to conclusions about its meaning is actually staggering. Like, it will make your head spin if you see the amount of DMs and comments I deal with every single day of people who they have decided in their own minds what anti-woke means, and then they attack you based on their perspective and their opinion of what it is, and then they don't even want to listen to what it actually is. Like, no matter how hard you try to explain to them, wait, what are you talking about? They don't want to hear it. No. I'm not listening, right? Like, literally, fingers in ears. I'm not listening. That sort of thing. I'm just tired of bad art designs, the demeaning and almost denouncing manner of these many new games. I'm just tired and bored of just how narratively boring it all is, but the market corrects itself. I do think we are in the midst of a massive market correction. Kyle, you're definitely correct there. A lot of people are tired of woke and anti-woke, left, right, blue, red, whatever. They just want to cover their ears and live their lives because the noise is unbearable. Abiwar, I get that. But here's the issue with that. One side will never stop. You see, I get these comments a lot from people saying, oh, dude, just don't buy it. Please just stop complaining. No one cares about this. You just keep going on and on and on about anti-woke. We don't care. Just don't buy the games. And it's like, if I knew that the woke would stop fighting, I would stop the fight tomorrow. Because I don't want to make videos every single day about woke. Or actually, I don't mind making videos about that. I actually find it fun. I don't want to make videos every single day talking about the downfall of my favorite hobby. It's sad when I have to make a video about Witcher 4 most likely being woke. I'm a massive Witcher nerd. I was super hyped for Witcher. I'm no longer super hyped for Witcher. Right? That's where I am. Do you think I like making videos going, dudes, I think Witcher might be woke? No! I want to make videos saying how cool Witcher 4 is going to be, how amazing Witcher 4 is going to be. The issue is, I would be lying if I said that, because all of the evidence shows that CD Projekt Red is mega woke, super involved in everything ESG, and so if I stop fighting, if I stop making videos, they win, because they don't want to stop. The end goal for them is complete submission so that they can do whatever the hell they want. If we give them that, we automatically lose and the whole gaming industry goes with them. All our games will become woke. Because if you think they're going to stop at the AAA, you're out of your mind. Once they know all of the AAA games are woke, they'll go after AA. They'll force AA to play by their rules, and then they'll go after indie. They'll go after every single person, every single studio you know and love, until there are very few left that is still sort of holding out. I think it's also super important that we realize YouTubers like myself, like Smash, like Endymion, like Vara Dark, like Grums over onto X. Do you have any idea how many developers in the AAA space value the work that we do? Just this morning, I received an email from someone that I know. Like, I know them. I know they work at EA. Emailed me saying thank you. thank you for speaking, because we cannot. I spoke to another developer today. I'm not yet sure if I'm allowed to say where she works. She hasn't appeared to care about me knowing exactly where she works or anyone knowing, but I will ask before I reveal that. Who knows people who work at Blizzard? Who she is in a constant conversation with. She knows them personally. They're friends. Who told her they can't do this anymore. This needs to end. They see their studios dying and there's nothing they can do. So we fighting this fight, we're not just fighting for us. We're fighting for everyone, including developers that are currently stuck, hard stuck, between a rock and a hard place because of woke politics. We can't just stop. That would be the end. We did that. In 2014, all of the Gamergaters celebrated their victory, and they did a bit of a victory lap. What happened? What happened? Did we actually win? After a short correction, Tydia, maybe, but if we make it so expensive, for them, they will think twice. And I think we're ready now. We're more ready than we've ever been before. Pamir, how you doing, sir? I think you're taking on this culture war fight because you're trying to disassociate from your personal life, not having much meaning. Over there, my personal life has a lot of meaning. I have amazing friends. I have an amazing community with whom I spend 4 out of the 7 nights of my life. I have friends that I go to dinner with literally every single week. I have an amazing life. I have an amazing social life. Meaning has not ever been a problem for me. I'm more than happy with my life being the way that it is. The culture war is very much a personal one for me. I made a whole video on it. If you ever wanted to watch that, if you ever wanted to educate yourself, please. Honestly, I saw the writing on the wall for Blizzard the moment they made that stupid twist with Sylvanas being only evil due to missing her soul, and she is just forgiven. Well, yeah, of course. Christian, I'm still salty about that one. Anyone understand what Gamergate and Gamergate 2 is? Because I've watched 4 YouTube videos to get an explanation, and I'm still confused. Peter, what's confusing you about it? I have to die? Smash WoW, you're not wrong. There will be a number of studios that will die as a result of this. Peter, well, yeah. Apparently, standing up for what you believe in and having values just means you don't have meaning. That is apparently what it means. But Gamergate is just the name given for the culture war. And it literally refers to gatekeeping. So gatekeeping gaming. We don't want politics in our video games, and so we are confused of being gatekeepers. And we're proud of that, right? I'm a proud gatekeeper. I think gatekeeping is good. You should keep evil activists out of video games. I think the meaning you already have will most likely be the thing that keeps you fighting and not give up. Abawar, I can tell you, before, I mean, I've made an entire video on this, so I shouldn't even have to go into it. But before I became a Christian, I had no interest in the culture war whatsoever. I couldn't care less. Whenever people asked me, I was like, yes, so what, guys? Just play something else. It doesn't even matter. It was the moment my life had meaning that I recognize that there is a fight happening for the future of our world. Because the problem with most people is they think that this fight is for now. They think that all of these woke games are just trying to cater to the gamers of today. This fight has nothing to do with us. They're fighting for the hearts and the souls of children. They know that children play these games. They're well aware of the fact that children play Dragon Age the Veilguard. Do you think Tash being non-binary and going through a giant stint of basically being the most insufferable daughter, treating her mother with the utmost disrespect, is for your and my benefit? Do you think it's an accident that the dialogue is consistently infantilized and childlike?
Gatekeeping is good, but gaming should be a neutral space. It's the extreme right and left are the problem.
Jason, I absolutely agree with you. It should be gatekept to ensure the neutrality of video gaming. I 100% agree with you. Thank you so much for the $5. I really appreciate that, sir. The dialogue in Dragon Age the Veilguard is as bad as it is because it is written for children. You see, this is the problem. This is the thing that most people have not yet connected to. Everyone complains that the writing in video games are bad, that the writing feels infantilizing. It feels as if you're talking down at me. It's because they are. You're too intelligent for the audience that they're trying to cater to. They're trying to tell a generation of young people, hey, do you feel a little bit awkward? You might be non-binary. It's not for you and me. It's for children. So if you're not willing to fight, that's fine, but then at least admit that you're not willing to fight for the future of humanity. Because that is what this fight is. It's not for you and me. It's for kids, so that kids can be kids and grow up kids without being shipped off to hospitals where all sorts of crazy shit happen to them. Well, it might also be written by children based on, I think the emotional maturity of some of these people. Pal, how you doing, sir? Oh, that reminds me, if you happen to look at that research paper I sent you, not yet, Damazel. I promise I will. It's on my list. I just have not had time yet. With birthday and shit, I've been super busy, but I promise I will. I think Veilguard is bad. Dustbone is even worse. The goal with Vitiligo betrays the group, apparently, due to her inner whiteness. Oh, but Forrest, again, look at the dialogue of Dustbone. Guys, there will be an entire world that opens up to you when you start to look at the writing in our video games, not for us as the audience. So when you stop thinking about this being written for people who are in their 20s and 30s, and you start looking at it rather for children, compare it to Cartoon Network writing. And suddenly you'll go, wow, this is on point. This is on target. This is exactly who this is for. Because it's too general and doesn't acknowledge the difference between media and political themes and media that's activism for a political view. Olive, so thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. I agree with you there, right? So I think... Actually, wait. Before I respond to you, can you clarify what you mean, please? Because I don't want to make an assumption on what I think you mean, and then I'm actually responding to the wrong thing. So would you mind just clarifying your perspective for me, so that I don't, misinterpret it? Steven Universe was a disaster for humanity. Cartoon Network is gone. Well, whatever is the new Cartoon Network, look at that. You know what's funny? A lot of woke game naturally attract me because I crave different experiences than my own. They just can't do it authentically. Nicodemus, I don't think the problem is... So, like I said in the beginning of the video, the problem isn't diversity. You can make diverse games. It's the preachiness that kills it, right? And the preachiness exists because it's not meant for you and me. The games were not made for us. The games were made for children, to ensure that children look at it, and because it's all propaganda. It comes from the handbook of Goebbels, effectively. I never watched Dragon Ball Z. On Cartoon Network, I watched Dexter's Laboratory. Huge fan of Dexter's Laboratory. And I watched Ed, Ed and Eddie. Ed, Ed and Eddie. Man, I loved Ed, Ed and Eddie. Has video game writing always been infantile? I don't feel like it was. Shay, no. So do yourself a favor and go play Mass Effect. There is a character in Mass Effect. If you were here, we're currently doing a playthrough of Mass Effect. Well, broken up. We're going to get back to that soon. But in Mass Effect, there's a character called Ashley. I don't know if you've played it before, but I'll do it for anyone that has not. Ashley is an incredible xenophobe. Ashley does not like aliens. Not one bit. Ashley is humanity first. In fact, Ashley and Trump, she'd probably wear a Trump MAGA hat, right? Except it would be something like MEGA, make Earth great again, right? That would be, it would be mega. Mega would be the hat that she would wear. Because Ashley is all about Earth and all about humans. And there's this phenomenal conversation that you have with Ashley where she basically reveals all of this to you. She reveals her deep, deep, deep distrust of aliens to you. Guess what? You can agree with her. You can agree with her. You two can be racist together. Doesn't matter. The game presents you with that, and then it allows you to play whichever way you want. It doesn't preach. It doesn't try to tell you this is wrong or this is right. It just says go for it. You know, do what you want. You can make full-blown decisions that only favor humanity. And again, the game allows you to do that because it's your game. You play it the way that you want, right? So no, games weren't always infantile or infantile. It's modern day games. Sounds like the God Emperor of Man from Warhammer 40k. Pretty much. Wastecoats, how you doing, sir? Biker Mice as well. You just say Thundercats? Biker Mice was my one. I was a massive Biker Mice fan as well. I had 2 Biker Mice figurines as well when I was growing up. If you're gonna say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which turtle? Yeah, Biker Mice from Mars, Berto. Who's the blue one? I don't remember their names. It's Michelangelo and Raphael and Donatello? I was always the blue one. Like, always. Blue. My brother was red. My cousin was red. No one was ever purple. And I think the other one was green, no? Something like that. Or orange. Something to that effect. But yeah, I like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well. I will do anything for money. Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
This
really
is our
appreciate
general.
that.
He will hold the line.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the 5. Really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are far too kind, sir. I really appreciate that. You guys are giving way too much money here. I just wanted to come hang out with you guys and talk a little bit about, you know, video games and politics and video games. And now you guys are just blessing me with cash. I really appreciate you. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Shake my head. People not knowing they're Ninja Turtles. Dude, how old is that show? Like, please. You cannot expect people to just know that stuff anymore. Like, that shit's nuts. But But all right, is there anything else that you guys want to add to the topics that we discussed? Anything that you want to discuss further? Otherwise, I'm going to go get ready for tomorrow's podcast, and I'll be back tomorrow with normal live stream. And maybe we'll do these live streams a little bit more often, actually. I like this. Because originally I was going to go sit and actually just make the videos.
Hey.
Wastecast, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate you. Thank you. But then the topics were so sort of nuclear that I thought, let's go live and rather just discuss it. So if this is something that you would like to see more, if you would like to see more live streams like this, hit the like so that I know, especially for people that might be watching it afterwards. Hit that like button and let me know if this is something you want to see more of. Because there are always these sort of topics that pop up that I make a video on it, but I prefer that I discuss it live instead. So far, out of all of the content creators, you have had the best take on this whole debate. Elijah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think every single content creator has a valuable take. Because I think there's different people who agree with different parts of it, right? I'm not against, for example, Melanie Mack and her take, although I do think I don't agree with it. I do appreciate that she has the take that she does, right? And so I can just give my opinion and hope that it adds value to the conversation. So I appreciate that you enjoyed it. Do you think woke individuals in the game industry can ever be replaced with base individuals? It seems they aren't welcome. I think so, yes. I think slowly but surely we will see the return of based developers. I mean, you go on Twitter and you look at the amount of developers that are actually in the front running for really good games. You know, you take, for example, Moon Games Inc. That CEO, completely based. You take Vavra from Warhorse, Kingdom Come Deliverance, completely based. You now take Lords of the Fallen, the studio behind Lords of the Fallen, can't remember the name now, completely based, right? So if you're asking, do I think the woke studios will eventually get base developers back into it? I think it depends, right? Some of the studios might wake up and might realize that, okay, the future isn't woke. And maybe there'll be a massive push to try and get the base developers back. But I think fundamentally, what is more likely is going to be that the base developers are going to move out of the AAA space. I have another video coming up soon. I'm speaking to insiders right now. And I have a call scheduled with an insider later this week where there's been a lot of reveals about the stuff that's happening in the gaming industry. That is super cool. This one appears to be... I told you guys already about who I'm talking about, who I'm talking to. This one appears to be a lot more open to me sharing things because of where she works. Her studio doesn't give a crap about the woke or the anti-woke stuff. They don't care about the politics. So they don't care whether they're involved in it or not involved in it. But we'll see. Maybe there is a point of her going, wait, I don't want my name out there, or I don't want my studio out there, or I don't want you to do this or share this. So I don't want to speak out of turn. I'll wait until I hear back. But, yeah. Gilgamesh, the reason I don't mind in this instance to say she is the studio that she works at, she would not be an identifier. She would not identify anything. More importantly, and I will say this for future reference, I may not always use the right gender for the person, or the right pronouns for the person, depending on where the person works and the likelihood of how easy it could be to catch the person, I might change things around completely. I did that in WoW. So there's a couple of people who I spoke to in World of Warcraft where I gave completely the wrong description of who that person might be. Because of the nature of the information that was shared with me. So I will do that from time to time. But in this case, it doesn't matter as much. Losofona Hicks something. Man, the insiders are really seeking you out now. I think, again, this is what I'm telling you. There are a lot of developers that are sick and tired. And I think seeing or realizing that they are not alone is helping. Realizing that they aren't the only ones fighting this fight, and realizing that there are millions of gamers that are on their side, I think is really helping them. Olive, okay, so I think an example for my argument could be Fallout. Because it's a very political game and theme, but it doesn't come off as promoting one specific worldview as being the morally correct one or come off as preachy. I don't have the best way of wording this stuff since it's a controversial topic. I just believe there's a difference between political themes and activism in gaming. So Olive, everything you just said, I 100% agree with, and I kind of parroted it at the beginning of the stream. I have no problem with politics in video games. I have a problem with political activism, as you said, in video games. If you're going to present politics in a video game, it needs to be done agnostically. You need to take an agnostic approach to it. You cannot make a game where you have already decided as the developer what the right decision is, and now you're going to force all of the players to accept the right decision. That doesn't work. It comes across as preachy. No one wants to be preached to. So yes, Fallout is an incredibly political game. But political for who? Even to this day, players cannot decide, are they against capitalism? Is it actually corporatism? Is communism even involved in that conversation? Who exactly are they against? Because when you play the game, you find that there are fascist groups that are very bad. You find that there are almost communistic groups that are very bad. Like, the game presents you with a foray of decisions, and almost none of them are good. Almost every single one of them are both good and questionable at the same time. And that is how it should be. I am again reminded of Dragon Age Origin. Those of you that played Origin, do you guys remember the Mage Tower or the Mage Circle and the Templars? The Mage Circle and the Templars are basically very political. It's super political. Except you choose who you wish to help and who you wish to oppress, who you wish to betray. And the game at no point tells you, oof, you just made the wrong choice. No. You make your choice and you play your game, and what you choose will impact your game, sure, but both have good upsides and downsides. But your choice is your choice, and you're going to stick to your choice. That's how games should be. Offer the choice, sure, use political elements, but don't choose on behalf of the player. Allow the player to make the choice. Travel, yes. Metal Gear Solid is a great example of politics in video games. Death Stranding is a great example of politics in a video game. Cyberpunk is a phenomenal example of politics in a video game. Dragon Age Origin, great example of politics in video games. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, great examples of politics in video games. Warhammer 40k is a great example of politics in universe. Again, It simply presents it. It does not decide for the player or the reader. It just presents it and says, well, choose. It's your choice. You just do whatever the hell you want, right? We're just here to make a story. What you choose to do with that story, that's your choice. That's how it should be. That's when games are at their best. That's when the world is at its best. But all right, since that is the end of the stream, I really appreciate all of you for coming out and joining me in this topic. I hope that it was a fun one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to do this more often, sort of like just impromptu topical streams, because a lot of the time I just stream to play video games, right? I already had dinner, Z Vengeance. I had flank steak and buffalo wings, which was, dude, that was so good. Like, oh man. Okay, funny story before I leave. Bumblebee, how you doing, sir? I go to my butcher. I don't have second dinners. I go to my butcher and I ask my butcher for flank steak. This was now like a week ago. My butcher looks at me with this expression as if I'm not talking like in a language, as if I'm speaking some other language. And I go, can you order flank steak for me? And he's like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, okay, just ask the supplier if they have flank steak. So just ask them if they have flank steak. So the next day I walk in and it's like, I got you that flank steak. I'm like, okay, thank you. Can you also get me skirt steak, please? Again, he goes, what? So as it turns out, in South Africa, flank steak is most often just ground down into mince. It's considered sort of like a throwaway cut. They don't sell it because they don't think anyone wants to buy it. And so it's not a new butcher smash, but it's the first time I've asked them for flank steak. Because usually I eat ribeye, but I've been in the mood for flank steak for a while now. And here's the funny thing. So they go and they order like 10 kgs or 20 pounds, or give or take, flank steak, thinking that they'll have enough for me to buy for the next week. When I walked in there this afternoon, because they phoned me yesterday saying the flank is coming today. When I walked in there this afternoon, they had held out like 2 kgs because everyone bought it. Everyone. When they put it on the shelf, people were like, oh, flank steak, let's go. They didn't even know people wanted flank steak until people saw the flank steak and started buying that shit. So now I still have no flank steak. So they have to order more flank steak for me. So I just helped them discover a new cut of steak. You should get commission discount now. I should actually ask him for that. Joker, how you doing, sir? Okay, boosting the economy. Doing my bit, man. Doing my bit. But no, he'll order more, and then I'll have flank steak again. I'm looking forward to skirt steak. I've never had skirt. So I'm still looking forward to that one. I'm going to go to your streams from Twitch or otherwise in a while. Jagron, I'm very happy to have you here, but you came in at the tail end of the stream. And yeah, the problem is I stream a lot earlier these days. So usually by that time, I'm already done, right? Wait, you're in South Africa? Jackson, I am. Yeah, I'm in Cape Town. Or Gordons Bay, more specifically. Skirts are hot, but hard to get the waifu in one. She likes pants more. Z Vengeance, but we already know that your girlfriend wears the pants in the relationship. Right? We already know this. So that's not a problem. I fully accept that. I grew up in Pretoria. I grew up in Pietersburg. I don't know if you know where that is. It's about 260 kilometers north of Pretoria. Wear pants too. I just sit on them all day. I will try to catch you next time. Jagran, I appreciate that, sir. It's been good seeing you. I haven't seen you in such a long time, Jagran. All right, guys, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go get ready for bed because I have gym again tomorrow morning at 5. I didn't go today. The birthday went on a little bit long last night. So I slept in. Well, I say slept in. I slept till 6:30. Felt like I was sleeping in, quite frankly. But I will have to be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow again to go to the gym. Sin family, how you doing, sir? I'm not going to be raiding anyone right now, Grofal. I'll especially not raid Noble because I don't think he wants politics in his channel. I'm going to try to butterfly Eye of Round into a flat and treat the same, by the way. Flank and skirt are getting silly overpriced here. Interesting. It is dirt cheap here. So I paid for my flank. I paid $6 for £2. Yeah. It's 129 rand per kilo. And I got 1 kilo of it, which is effectively £2. Well, Grofal, I have to say pounds because the Americans in chat don't know what kilos are. When you say kilos, they immediately want to phone their president and be like, I think there's people that need freedom somewhere. They just said a key word, and I think we should bring them freedom. So I use their words and their language so that we don't receive freedom here in South Africa. Your shrimp stay cheaper now? Don't worry, we have no oil. We are safe. Peter, we actually do have oil. The problem is just the government's rules are so crappy that they've stopped looking for it. But there is apparently one of the largest offshore oil fields in the world has been discovered just off the coast of the Western Cape. Like, I don't know if you even saw it. So they discovered a crap ton of offshore oil just off the coast of Namibia. And then they started doing sort of initial surveys, and they found that there's an even bigger oil field just off the coast of the Western Cape, potentially. But I think it's Shell or Sasol. No, it's Shell that wanted to start actually drilling for it to see if they can find it, and then they gave up. They were like, no, never mind. This is not worth it. Best steak I've ever had was in Japan. Was good to know you. I can already hear America incoming. There's no mods among us. Go wild, chat. Middle East, they have the Saudis. We don't have Kobe beef. We have South African Wagyu. The difference between South African Wagyu and just normal South African beef, I am yet to find. So I remember walking into a butcher once, not my butcher, but I walked into a butcher once and they had like Wagyu beef. No fat. No fat. Like, it's the reddest meat you've ever seen in your life. Not even an inkling of fat on that thing. And I remember looking at it thinking, what exactly makes this Wagyu exactly? I'm not sure. I don't think this is Wagyu. Yeah, these didn't have any marbling, but it was priced as if it had all the marbling. No marbling whatsoever, Snivels. None. The reddest meat you'll ever see in your entire life. That doesn't work. Thundercool that... Oh, wait, no. I didn't see that 85 was part of it. Sorry. leaking my DMs is one thing, but this is absolutely uncalled for. See, this is the problem. I don't know if this is just them joking. Hey, Thron, how you doing, sir? If this is just them joking with each other, or if this is an actual conversation. If this is real. I felt the need to add my unique perspective to the Elon Musk drama around Path of Exile. Full video. Asmon behaves like a maverick, independent, but in reality has to ask his boss for permission. Here's me doing a world record. Okay, you shouldn't have to justify yourself to these people, but it's nice that you've got receipts to prove your gaming credentials. I'm on hundreds of streams on YouTube, Twitch, playing live with the world's best players. No other way to say this, but while Asmon is good at caustic commentary and making fun of people, he is not good at video games. It must be a joking. They must just be playing with each other. Frozen Solid, yeah, but he would, wouldn't he? I don't think this is real beef. The reason I don't think so is I think Asmongold is getting ready to start streaming on X, and they're drumming up sort of drama. I guarantee you that's what I think is happening here. They're drumming up drama because Asmongold is getting ready to stream on X. I don't think any of this is real. I don't understand why Elon Musk would go after Asmongold. Asmongold has done nothing to Elon. If anything, he's defended Elon. And Elon has no reason to go after Asmongold in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, I think it's literally just marketing. This is just because Elon did ask, or Asmongold said, if Elon can prove that he plays Path of Exile, he will stream on X. Elon, I think, is going to take the bait. He is going to practice now because I don't think he played the first time. So he's going to practice. He's going to do a live stream with his face showing that he is actually playing Path of Exile 2. Because I do actually think Elon Musk is a good gamer. I think Elon Musk is actually, he plays Diablo 4. So Elon Musk is going to do that. Asmon is then going to stream on X for the first time, and it's going to be one of the biggest streams on X ever. That's genuinely what I think. Because look at this, dude. Asmongold has 1 million followers on X. If Asmon streams on X, it's going to be massive. So I think this is one big publicity scheme. I think people are buying into it, but I don't think this is an actual beef. Lucy, how you doing? Clean. So my perspective on that has always been, if you can master one game, you can master any game. Games are not that hard. The question more is, do you have the time and the energy to actually master more than one game? Right? But I don't think games are difficult. In fact, I think only idiots think games are difficult. Games are super easy. It's just, do you have the time to sit there and figure it out? And I think he can. I love just how the readers immediately jumped in and community noted Elon. Peter, take care of yourself, sir. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go. I'm going to love you and leave you now. I will be back tomorrow. Remember, I have... No, wait, let me not make promises about tomorrow because you guys have a different time zone now. we start the podcast late. We start the podcast only at 11 my time, and then usually we go until like 2 or 3, and then I haven't even made a single video yet. So I don't know. I'm gonna try my best. If there's no news tomorrow, I will be live. If there is a lot of news, I can't promise. It all depends on the news cycle. But keep an eye on Discord, or keep an eye here on YouTube, because I stream on YouTube and Twitch. So you can keep an eye on either of those. Alternatively, you can follow me over on Twitter, although I barely, if ever, tweet. Like, yeah, I don't tweet. You can see here 14th of January, 13th, and then 8th, and then 8th, and I think, yeah, and then the 4th, and then 28th. I barely tweet on this thing. Like, maybe once a week, I tweet like 2 or 3 things, and then I leave. Since starting a new Twitter, I've had 0 interest in tweeting. I'm actually enjoying not tweeting and just reading Twitter, getting the news, and then leaving. But no, I appreciate all of you for coming out, for hanging out with me, for spending your day with me. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.